Re-
All right, let's get started. Welcome. It's almost the new year. So I thought, hey, I'm a little out of practice with some of my Zoom instructions. So I'm going to get online and do a Zoom class for a little painting. All right, let's just take a moment. Just take a nice breath in and then just breathe it out. We got to get into our painting mode. You've never painted before, do not worry. It's super duper easy. We're also going to take a nice stretch up. Look at those fingers, maybe get them ready to work. Maybe twist to the side, maybe back and forth. And we're ready. We're ready to become artists for the day. So let's get started. Let's get started. Okay, so my name is Deborah. Some of you know me, some of you don't. I'm over here at Crafting a Calmer Self. We teach art, we teach mindfulness, we teach different types of crafting and fiber crafts. We teach kind of like life courses, just anything that might make your life a little bit more fun, a little bit more relaxing, a little bit more enjoyable, a little bit richer. So we do a lot of different stuff here. And today we're going to do a little painting. If you don't have paints, first rule that I tell all my students, especially when I do something online or remote, if you don't have what I have, do not panic. Never panic. Use what you've got. If you're like me, you probably have too many art supplies anyway. So it's a good chance, an opportunity to be a little creative. So what am I going to work with today? Um, I'm going to work with some canvas board. You can even pick these up in the dollar store, pretty cheap. So if you're like, hey, I'm thinking something for New Year's resolution, maybe do a little painting, go to the dollar store. Dollar store has great stuff. I don't condone, I don't uh, say one is better than the other, but whatever. You don't have to go to a fancy art store. I may also be referring to some paper. So if you've got paper, a notebook, a composition book, leftover paper from something, it doesn't matter, whatever you got. But you need something to work on. So I'm going to work a little bit of canvas board because it's nice and easy for me to work on. And sometimes it's nice and easy to put up on your wall with a little of that fun tack. Um, Paints. I'm going to be working with acrylic paints today. Okay, I got a whole bunch here. You don't need that many colors to get started. Really only need your primary colors, which are red, yellow, and blue. It's always good to have white and black. But if you want to expand a little bit, you're like, Deborah, I'm not so good at color mixing or making tints or hues or shades. Always kind of get your basic rainbow colors, your Roy G bibs. So in addition to your yellow, red, and blue, you may want to get your purple or violet, your green, and your orange. That's all you need to get started. Always have some white and black as well. Brown is a little tricky to make, so if you want to add brown into things, you're painting nature, it's always a good one to get to. But if you've got crayons, brush pens, markers, colored pencils, whatever you've got, it'll work. It'll work. Well, it all works. We don't have to worry about it. Um, I also recommend anytime that you're starting, get a little cup or a mug. This is my mug with coffee, which I always have. Could be can, anything that you've got, a jar. I always recommend having a pencil on hand, and I love Sharpies. Some of you know I love, 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 love Sharpies. So maybe a black marker is always good. And you can pretty much get them anywhere. Because I'm working with paints, I'm going to be working with some brushes and some water. And whenever I'm working with my paints, I also like to have a little paper towel. You can have some newspaper to cover your table, whatever you need. It doesn't really matter. My table's messy as it is anyway, so I'm not worried about it. But if you care about your table, get a little bit of junk mail, newspaper, thing at the end of your driveway if you're by me. I also like to wear something to cover my clothes if you're painting or you're working, or wear an old t-shirt or something like that. Your brushes, listen, when you're starting, you don't have to spend a lot of money. Once again, dollar store has a lot of cool stuff, but try to get some different stuff. Today, we're probably going to be working with our round brushes, okay, and maybe a nice flat brush. Doesn't have to be angled, but a nice flat brush helps us fill in areas a little bit faster. But it's up to you, okay? I think we're set. I think we're good. Now, what's our inspiration? Oh, and also, if your pencil doesn't have an eraser, always have an eraser. It doesn't have to be one of those fancy art erasers or whatever. You know, you can go to an office supply store, once again, dollar store. So I think we're good. I think we're good. So, about a couple of weeks ago, I was doing some curriculum for an after school program. And one of the things that I saw and I loved and I had to steal and share with these students was Picasso Snowman. I love snowmen starting in December and going into January, even though we are not like Buffalo. That was tragic, horrible. Over here, we didn't really get too much. We didn't get any snow. We got a lot of rain. So anybody dealing with some of the problems from the weather, my heart goes out. And hopefully everybody digs out or gets things fixed real soon. But this is a Picasso Cubist snowman. Some of you know me. I love to work in other stuff, to get things from a different perspective, to try things, break them down. This is like a crafty snowman. Okay. This is one of my groups did this too, working more as a sculpture, working 3D. We're going to do painting, but we're not going to do a Picasso snowman today. Some of you say, Deborah, I hate cubism. I don't get it. I look at it and I say, huh? Well, we're even going to do something maybe even a little bit stranger today. We're going to break out of our comfort zone, which is always a lot of fun, maybe. I don't know. I dig it. And you know me, I like to look for different types of artists. So today, we're gonna look at the artist Elizabeth Murray. So while you're getting your supplies, I'm just gonna show you a little something. Okay, there we are, and there she is. Um, this was an artist. Sadly, she passed. Um, but um, more of a an abstract contemporary artist. And one of the things I really dug is the thing when you work with Picasso and Cubism, I really like my angles really my lines straight. So I'm a little OCD that way. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to kind of do something free flowing. So we're going to work in kind of her free form uh, style. She has a little bit of elements of cubism. We'll talk about that if you like. Or if you don't, that's okay too. But we're going to make a snowman based in this style. This is one of her paintings from the 70s, children meeting. And I kind of dug that. So we're going to work with some kind of funky shapes. We're going to make a melted snowman. Yeah, because it's warming up by me in the Northeast, in New Jersey. It's warming up over the next few days, which I really don't like when it's this winter time. So if you did make a snowman, it's probably going to melt. So we're going to turn that into kind of a work of art, a melted snowman, which is always kind of depressing. But stages of snowmen. This cubism stage, maybe he's melting too. I don't know. So we're going to give it a shot. Um, so hopefully you got your supplies ready. And as I said, anything you got, anything you have handy, we're going to work with. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to make the design on our canvas or our paper. And I always recommend, I always say to a lot of my students, a blank piece of paper is like the worst thing. It's like, I don't know what to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of the guesswork out. We're going to make it a little less scary. We're going to take a sip of our coffee to give us some strength. Mm, got my herstory mug. If you go to the Museum of Modern Art, if you're ever in New York, have some cool. I think that's where I got it. I think so. All righty. Because on their art history one, I don't think any of the artists are women. And I love to explore female artists because sometimes we're not always highlighted in the world in history, but that's okay. We'll get there. We'll get there. So, what we're going to do is we're going to draw an outline of a shape that we're painting. You don't have to do this. I kind of like to do this. So sometimes my camera angles are a little wacky. So I apologize. Um, I recommend to work in pencil so that you can erase your lines. Um, and then I'm going to go back over in marker. Sometimes when I'm working, you really can't see my pencil. Just so you all know, I have cats, I have kids, and I have lots of things always going on. So there might be some interruptions. And I got my old senior cat over here joining us today. So the first thing what we're going to do is we're going to work with getting our main shapes. We're going to do two blobs. I know a lot of snowmen have more than two blobs. You might have the three stack snowman like this one. And you can do that. You can do that if you like. I'm going to work with two. I'm going to work with two blobs. So I'm going to work with a Sharpie. I don't always recommend this to start because if you don't like it, you really can't erase it. So I do recommend getting your pencil out. But so you can really see it nice and clearly, I'm going to work with my marker, my Sharpie. So it doesn't really matter, especially if you're working with pencil, if you're going to start with the big shape or the smaller shape. I'm going to start with the head first, okay? And I'm going to put his head somewhere up in this corner. Doesn't matter where you want. Maybe he melted this way. Maybe you're hanging upside down from a tree. I don't know what's going on where you are. But I'm going to put his head over here. I tend to work, I don't know, the same. And I want you to take a moment to think what happens when a round shape starts to melt? Does it stay round? It's possible. So if you want to just do a perfect circle, you can. If you want to do a different, kind of a soft circle, you can. But I want you to kind of go with the flow. See where things take you and we're going to get a little creative. So I love her painting. I don't know, this is from the 70s, but it makes me think of like a lot of the 80s and 90s. This reminds me of like what was the show? Saved by the Bell. They had some crazy graphics in the beginning. So I'm going to go for kind of a wavy, gravy, loosey goosey circle. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to kind of make some interesting blobs and I'm going to connect it. Your shape doesn't look like mine. That doesn't matter. That's okay. That's even better. It doesn't matter. If you copy it exactly like me, that's totally cool. It's whatever is um, kind of taking you on your creative journey. There's lots of different shapes you can make. Lots of different shapes you can make. If you're working, whoops, it was always dropping. If you're working on a big canvas, I'll show you some different shapes. So if you want to make a circle for your head, this looks more like an egg. You can. If you want to make like a softer circle, like a fried egg, you can. You want to make it more like an ice cube, maybe froze. It's okay. You want to make it really long and loosey goosey and kind of cookie cookie, whatever. Matisse, what's whatever. One more. Let me see if I can make a better circle. Circles are tough. I'm always making egg shapes. I haven't had breakfast yet, so maybe that's why. Okay. So you work in your pencil Or if you want to just go for it, write in your marker, that's totally cool with me. It's whatever floating your boat today. Okay. Now we've got a head, which is awesome. Okay. Because that's kind of, everybody needs a brain, I guess. And now we're going to add a bottom. Okay. We're going to add another shape. And one of the things that I liked, I kind of liked that it was kind of like a blob. So you working with the pencil, if you want to kind of get the whole flow of the shape and just kind of um, cover inside your circle, which I'm going to do, you can, meaning you're going to run the lines through. We want to eventually get rid of that line. We don't want to see it. So I'm going to come in and maybe I'm going to start from the bottom. And I really want to fill in my canvas. And maybe it kind of looks like a jelly bean. That's a weird jelly bean. And I know that's hard to see. Um, so I'm going to come in. Now, if you're working with your marker, maybe you kind of change the design. I'm just going to kind of come in. Here we go. Looks like a sock or a shoe or something. I didn't get too many blobby things going on. So whatever the shape is that you want. You do want to leave a little bit of room. It doesn't matter. It can overlap. We're going to add a scarf, maybe a hat, and some arms and a nose, carrot nose, and some eyes. So we're going to be doing some overlapping as well. And that's okay too. Okay. Um, so hopefully everybody's got some type of head, some type of bottom, whatever it may be. Okay. The next thing you're going to do, let's kind of map this little guy out. Let's map our snowman. Here's one example that I did that looks nothing like a snowman. I know. But let's get in, and I have some pencil lines, and that's okay. We're going to delete the pencil lines at the end. Okay. And if you're working in pencil, that's awesome. Don't worry. You don't need to use a black marker yet. We're going to add that to add a little definition. And sometimes I do that at the end of my painting as well. I come back after it's dry. So let me see. I think what I want to do is I want to give this guy a hat. And I'm going to work in a shape that's kind of like contrast. It's different. It's no, it's the opposite. These are smooth shapes, rounded shapes, curved shapes. I'm going to throw in, just like her painting, I'm going to throw in a square for a hat. You could throw in a triangle too. Okay. So just lower this a bit. And I have some space over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give him like a top hat. So I'm just going to kind of have it come down. And like I said, if you're working in pencil, that's okay. And I'm going to start with like a little bit of a rectangle. Okay, there he is. And I'm just going to come in. I know I have a very like kind of stereotypical snowman here. Not very creative, I guess. This kind of looks like a shoe or a stocking. I don't know what it is. That's okay. That's okay. In the end, people are going to be like, oh, that's very interesting, just like the museums. What am I looking at? I have no idea. Yeah, it's a snowman. You have to write that on there. That's okay. Art's really more about the experience than does it have to look like something. That's what we have cameras for, right? So put on a little hat. It could be a triangle, it could be a square. I don't know. You could be wearing a bowler hat. I don't know. Whatever kind of hat you dig. I don't care. You don't want him to wear a hat because you don't like hats. It messes up your hair. That's totally fine. I don't care. It's whatever you want. Okay. I mean, I do care, but it's whatever that makes you happy. Let's add some arms. Now I'm gonna have my arms. What I like about this drawing is some of the arms kind of go over some of the melted snow. And you can do that. You can totally do that. See some of the layering. This arm over here, there he is, doesn't. This arm layers over, which is kind of funky and cool, which I like. My watch is telling me to stand up. I don't like that my watch tells me what to do. What we're copying is, but my watch is right. Um, we're copying some of these lines. So we're using some contrast in shape and design to give it kind of like this kind of, we don't know where we're going, we're drawing in different kinds of ideas from our senses. So and we're practicing a lot of different skills too. So I'm going to add some stick arms. Okay. Here's my sculpture. I use pipe cleaners here. I've got a little ornament I'll show you that some of my students made with real sticks. Um, I'm going to add some straight lines, and I'm going to kind of have them come in. You can just make them as a straight line and paint over them. So if you wanted to do something just like that, okay, you're using your pencil, you're not using an arm, you could do something like that, and we'll eventually come over and paint over it. If you want to give it a little bit of thickness, to remind you, you can kind of come in. Okay, just some straight lines, some crooked lines, like an angle, like a little bit. But you can just make it just like this. You could just leave it just like that. But we need to know where to go in with our lines. And here's my kind of crooked line. If you want to give them two fingers, right? I think these are the fingers. You could give them two fingers. It doesn't matter. Okay. But somewhere, either way, you're going to draw some type of hand or arm. Your snowman only has one. That's okay. No one's. That's okay. It's whatever you like. I just like the contrast of the lines. The lines. And like I said, it's more of like, oh, okay, that's what a snowman looks like. So my viewers looking at it instead of scratching, they might say, oh, all right, I think that's it. Okay. But you're the artist, you're in control. You're in control. Let's add the face. I think my snowman kind of came out a little creepy on my other design. Oh, goodness. We'll add a scarf at the end if we want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a triangle. Okay, like I said, we're playing with different types of shapes. So we have our like circly, mushy, globby. So wherever you want to put his nose, I have a little bit of space here. Maybe I'm going to put my little triangle up here because it's a carrot. I don't know. I don't know why it's coming out of his head. And you could do circles, or you can do squares, or rectangles, or whatever. Give him little coal eyes, or button eyes. I guess he looks a little scary. It's all right. And then if you want, you can add a scarf. And the scarf can be some nice curved lines, or it can be straight lines, but that's all we're really going to do. In this design, in my one drawing here, I did a curved line for my scarf. Okay. Here, I have a nice little bit. It's like flying in the wind, like, shh, right? Wind is blowing. You could do something similar there, just like our artist's design here. Okay. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to have a curved line. I want to go back to curved lines. I've done some straight lines. Going to come out of here. And I'm just going to make it a little curve. It's going to kind of go through. Whoops. And maybe I'll give it a nice little line. And there's my snowman. There's my snowman. So however which way your snowman came out, it's perfect. Just the way that it came out. We're experimenting. We're giving things a shot. That's why, some individuals who like realism in their artwork, they get so frustrated. I do when I'm drawing and sketching. I'm like, it doesn't look anything like that. Drawing takes practice, practice, practice. It's a skill. Lots of practice. That's why I like more abstract because it takes still lots of practice, but there's a lot of creative license. Get to experiment a lot more because the goal is doesn't have to look like a snowman, the perfect snowman, or Frosty from the specials. It's kind of growing and turning into something all on its own when we least expect it. So if you worked in your pencil, you can leave that there. If you need to really see your lines more, you can go over and you want to kind of shape it. You can go back over with your marker and trace it. It will show with a lot of your paint, and sometimes that's okay. It's kind of a funky look. Or you can just leave the pencil. But this is a good time to clean up any lines that you don't really want showing through. So this is a good time to go back over your work and, just get rid of some of those lines. And I guess that cat hair that shows up. Okay. So we're going to just kind of go in, get rid of some of the lines that, especially if you were a person that was kind of drawing these big circles, these kind of intersecting, overlapping circles. In this particular art piece, we're not having intersecting lines. We kind of want, it doesn't matter if you do, but we kind of want two basic big blocks. Okay, so get rid of your sketch lines if you so choose. There we go. And take a look at this little guy. Let's see what we've got. And if you want, you can go back over. And this is recorded so you can stop, clean it up, fix it any way you want. If you made a perfect three circle snowman, bottom, middle, head, and it looks just like what a snowman always looks like, that's perfect. Don't worry about it. That's okay. Now, we're going to start with the painting. We're going to get going with our painting. Now, if you don't have paints and you're using markers, crayons, colored pencils, anything, acrylic markers, gel pens, smelly markers, which I love, Mr. Sketch, that's okay. You could do whatever you like. Whatever you like. Okay? So now, these really aren't very wintry colors on this artist, and that's okay. That she wasn't doing a snowman. We're going to focus a little bit more on cool tones. And we'll talk a little bit about what are cool colors. They're not just the cool kids, whatever that may be. These are colors that make you think of uh, winter blizzards, cold, snowy days, chilly walks on a winter day. These are those colors, and they tend to be our blues. Sometimes they can be pale colors or pastel types of colors, light blues. May also include like grays and silvers. We're going to add some warm colors for maybe a little bit of pop to our picture, but I'm really going to be working in some cooler colors, but I am also going to be working with a little bit of yellow. So one of the things I didn't tell you to get, which now I realize, is when you're mixing your paints, I know I ran out of white plates. I don't know where they all went. Um, uh, Paper plates are great supplies when you're painting. A notebook, a pad, anything, a napkin, a newspaper, a cookie sheet, styrofoam, anything that you get from takeout, covers, they're great. I like paper plates. I know it's not the most environmental, but you can kind of toss them and throw them away, which I really do like. But if you want to go to an art store and dollar store, sell them um, these little pallets. They're plastic things with little cups in them, and you could do that too. But whatever you like. I like that. When I work with a lot of my students, I use paper plate. I usually don't use a llama, but that's okay. Alrighty, so let's get going. What we're going to do is we're going to work with some blue. I'm going to work with some blue. I'm going to get some white. I think I'm going to use this white. Okay, doesn't matter. I'm gonna work with a little blue. I'm gonna work with cerulean blue. If all you have is one blue, because you're using craft paint, that's all you've got, that's okay. You're working with watercolors, that's fine. I like acrylics for this because they're a little bit heavier. They're not as, translucent. These are, kind of opaque. You can't see through them. They're thicker and we can layer them. The white is for some blending. And I'm also gonna maybe use like a pale yellow. I think I'm going to use a pale yellow. And we'll talk about that. And you're saying, Deborah, um, that's not really cool. You're right. You're right. Maybe I will, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. So the first one that I am going to do is I'm going to move to a blue. Okay. And I'm going to put, just to show you, on my fa la 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 llama. Okay. I'm going to put some blue there. I'm also going to do some white. And you know what? I think I switched my mind already. I think I'm going to do a darker blue for the bottom, and I think I'm going to do a lighter blue. So I'm also going to add another little bit of red, I mean white, red, the plate's red. Duh. Okay. And I'm going to mix. So when we add white to a color, we're making like tints. So I'm going to get I'm going to start with my bottom, and I'm going um to mix my paints. So what I'm going to do is I want to keep it pretty dark, so I'm going to add some white to my blue. Okay, I'm just adding it in there. And if you don't want to blend your paints, this is a great project to practice with a little color blending. You don't have to. And what I'm going to do is and I'm using kind of a nice thick brush. I'm using a flat brush. Um, you can use a round brush, you can use whatever you've got. And I'm just kind of going around. And the reason why I like a bigger brush is I have a pretty big space. My father used to, when I used to paint my house, I used to use this little roller. I don't know why I used a little roller. And he used to be like, why are you using such a small roller? It's going to take you forever to paint that wall. So I want you, if you've got like kind of a big area to paint, you're going to use a bigger brush. Now, not all my paint is beautifully mixed. It's not all the same. And guess what? That's okay. I'm going to have some different colors blended throughout. There's going to be different shades of this blue. Okay. And that's okay. That's all right. We're just experimenting. We're exploring. Today we didn't know we were going to paint. And I'm just kind of going around and I'm going to talk about brush strokes in a minute. Okay. Okay. Just kind of coming in. I'm just kind of going around. I'm just working with the wavy gravy, loosey goosey, love loosey goosey lines. Because when things melt, they just don't stay in a perfect shape. You know what I mean? They don't. Nothing does. All things change shape. So I'm kind of going around first, if you've noticed. Okay. There's all different ways to paint. I'm kind of going around so I get my shape, my general shape that I wanted. And if it changes a bit, you go over, it's okay. And then what I like to do is I like to fill it in. And I like my brush strokes when I'm initially working to kind of go, I don't know, like me, to make sure I really cover everything. Okay. So that I cover everything. And I'm just kind of going up and down. Okay. If you're going side to side, that's okay. It's whatever you want. You don't have to do this. But this way I get a nice coating. I make sure I kind of cover everything. I'm kind of going in and I'm seeing. because I want it really like solid. And then brush strokes are really interesting. You may like all your strokes going in one direction. Some people don't. Some people are like, just throwing it all in there. And that's okay too. But I want to create the shape of this melted snowman. So I'm going to come in and I'm just going to kind of bring in more strokes. I'm just going to kind of go with the flow. I'm kind of tracing. I'm just throwing on some paint on my brush, just going for it, just tapping in there. Look what I'm doing. Okay, here's my plate. I'm just kind of going boom, 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 picking up some blue, picking up some white. I'm just going for it. I don't care. And I'm just going to kind of go, and I'm just going to kind of move my brush, maybe in a rounded shape. And if you notice, and I'm going to use some darker colors so you can kind of see that. See how the shape, okay, I'll come in with a darker color so you can see. See, I'm kind of coming in, right? Kind of coming in. I'll show you a little bit more. That's all I'm doing. I'm kind of just, it started in the center, my snowman started like this, and then he melted. So if you like it all one solid color, which I think in her original painting was a little bit like that, that's cool. But if you kind of experiment, move your brush around, how do you think ice or snow would melt, loosey goosey? I don't know. Maybe that's it. Okay. So work on that first one, that first bottom, your base. If you started on your face, that's okay. I don't worry. I don't mind. Doesn't matter. Now I'm going to go to the head next. Okay. I'm going to do that next. All right. And I'm trying to think, what color do I want? I could add a really light blue. I could change it up and add a little bit of warmth. I could do a kind of, do I have it here? In this snowman, I have a little bit of yellow added. You know what I think I'm going to do? I think I'm going to do a little, I was going to do blue. I think, my friends, I think maybe a nice, a little cool green. Do I not have black? Do I not have black somewhere? Let me see. It's always after I told you you should have black, and I didn't even have it. I got brown. I got black. Hooray! Always, 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 always. You always need white. You always need black. Okay, brown's the extra too. So I'm gonna make a gray. Maybe. I don't know. So let's experiment. I'm just gonna add. Now, when you are adding black to a color, you don't want to add a lot. It's a very strong color. I love it. I love it. Some of you know me. I'm always working in the color. I love black and white. Just love it to work with. But here, we only need itty bitty, itty bitty. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit there. Whoops. Okay, it's a weird little blob. Okay, so here's my painting here. And I'm going to work with maybe a little bit of different brush for some of you working with brown. Okay, I just got this. Isn't this not like the cutest little thing? It's like for your brushes and you can kind of like do that. I mean, wow. I don't know if I really needed to spend $15 on it, but it was adorable. I think it was, I had to get it. So I'm going to be mixing in my white. Okay. I'm going to take, when I say itty bitty, itty bitty. I just want the hint. Okay. Oops. I need more hands. I just want the hint of a little bit of gray. I don't know. Might look dirty snow. If you want to make it pink, pink might look really pretty. Let me see if it shows up here for you guys. I think it shows up enough. Let's see. So I don't know if you can see that. It's the hint a little bit. So I'm going to make mine a little bit darker so you can kind of see it. Yeah, it's going to kind of look like dirty snow. What a bummer. Okay, that's all right. I'm experimenting. I'm experimenting. Maybe this snowman was at the side of a parking lot at a mall, and all the cars, the dirty snow. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the edge. I'm going to do the edge first because as I move on the inside, I can kind of move to a lighter color. Okay. And you can too. If you're using one color, you say, Deborah, I don't have white, or I'm working with markers or crayons or whatever you got. That's okay. We're just kind of getting that flow. For your smaller spaces, guess what? When you're working in a smaller space, you're going to need a smaller brush, right? When you're working in a smaller space. So I kind of went along and I went in and I kind of traced it. Kind of matches my hair color, which I don't know if that's good or bad. And I'm going to lighten it up a bit and I'm going to come in and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to kind of fill in my face of my snowman or his head, not my face. Okay. And if you want, you can switch to your other brush, but your brushes kind of do work for you. Your brushes do work for you. Okay. And if you want, you can go over your little eyes if you can still see them. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of paint around them so you can still see them. Okay. Hopefully you're seeing what I'm doing. Just going to go over. See, I kind of painted a little bit over. Okay. Okay, just kind of coming in, and the more I come into the center, maybe I want it lighter. Maybe I want it lighter. What a sad snowman. When I started, I'm like, I'm gonna have a happy little snowman. I did gray. The color choice you pick is important. It's okay. Kind of a funky snowman. And you can kind of see him kind of doing some groovy lines and movements. Like those fingers. There he is. I was almost going to put my brush in my coffee. And that's happened to me many a time when I use this because it doesn't look like a jar. Sometimes use a can, old spaghetti jar, jam jar with water, and that way you know it's your water, not your mug, your coffee. Done it thousands of times. All righty. So here we go. Now we're going to put a little bit of some final touches to this snowman. Okay. You're like almost there. Okay. You're working in this artist. You can change it anyway. Can write to me and say, Deborah, no, it's not my type of art. So let's work on the face, the nose, the hat, and the scarf. And your background, I'm going to leave it white. I'm going to leave it white. You don't have to. You can add stuff to it. So once again, I'm going to clean my brushes. Now I gotta think, what color do I want to do my my hat and my scarf and my eyes? So I'm gonna do my eyes first. You don't have to. I just find it kind of like anchors the whole thing. Kind of like, eyes are the mirrors of the soul. So I'm gonna work in black, just black, because I have a little bit of here. So I'm gonna go in. Oh, I got a little bit of white. Shoo shoo. Okay. And I'm gonna just kind of come in and I'm working with a small brush and I'm just gonna kind of come in. My eyes were more like little squares. Maybe yours was like circles. Okay. I'm always kind of like painting upside down and backwards when I'm working with you guys. So, but that way you can see as I'm working instead of see my back. There he is. Now, if you wanted to, and you wanted to add a smile, something like that, you totally can. You can add more dots. Well, I didn't add a mouth. I don't know why, but you can. You can if you want. Totally can. Okay. Maybe that's a good time to do that. If you want to do it, you know, maybe I'll do that just for fun. Let's see. I'm just kind of drying off my brush. Where's my black paint? I want to make sure I get a little bit more. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll add a face, like more of a mouth. Try to make them smile. Okay, I don't know. There we go. There's a little bit of cold mouth. Let me see. I like to work in, from a design perspective, like odd numbers. Obviously, we don't have odd number of eyes usually. Humans, we like that symmetry. But in design, a lot of times, odd numbers like 5, 3, they have their own kind of different type of symmetry, but they in this thing like this, I think that works well. There we go. So now he looks happy, even though he looks like, I don't know, something happened to him. There he is. Now let's add a little bit of a nose, because now I think he's going to start to really look. Be careful when you're flicking your paint around. Now, if you don't have orange, you all know how to get orange, right? It's yellow and red. You start with more yellow. Ooh, what's going on with this? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. He just exploded. Oh dear, I hope he's okay. I love orange. Orange is like one of my favorite colors. Some of you know that. I love it. It's not always a favorite. Is it not a favorite color? I don't know. And let's go up and let's paint him. Let's paint his nose, wherever your nose was. Okay. Just kind of coming in. My triangle isn't very big for the nose. So I'm using kind of actually a pretty thick brush, a big brush. But ooh, my orange is terrible. I hope your orange is better than mine. I think it's time to get more supplies. My orange is, I got more orange downstairs. These are my little ones. There he is. How cute he is. You're like, why am I doing this? You're doing this because you're thinking outside the box or the circles for a snowman. Being creative and looking at things from a different perspective kind of open up your mind to new things, solves problems, believe it or not, because you're making different types of connections. I don't know. Think it works? Maybe. I think it does. I think it does. Totally. Trust me. Trust me. Who used to say that? Alfred E. Newman? Somebody used to say that. Do you trust somebody who says trust me? I don't know. So the next thing we're going to go in is we're going to go in with our maybe our hat. I'm going to save my arms for the end. If you want to give your snowman legs, why not? You want to give them, I don't know. Anyway, I right? Is there other things people because Frosty had a pipe. So all I have on this right now, my cool colors are those blues, the gray, those kinds of colors that we think of that don't have heat. Your reds, your orange, your yellow. Think of the sun, right? It's hot. You turn on your toaster oven and everything turns red. Those are your hot colors. We're working in a cool tone, cool tone. Okay. Same thing with my other dude here, my Picasso snowman. Totally different. And a lot of times you'll see there's loads of memes and stuff. I've done it in past with other students where you pick an object or a situation and you say, hey, I did with fish. I know they did it for like menorahs and Christmas trees this holiday season. And you pick different artists and you make the object and how you kind of with their famous artworks. So here's our cubism, and here's our Elizabeth Murray. I think it's also a little Matisse. Matisse has kind of, when he painted with scissors, I don't know, different. So I only used a little bit of a warm color. That's the orange. So I think to kind of go around and create contrast, I'm going to add another warm color for his hat because you could add black. Because, right, sometimes their hats are black, like a top hat, like Victorian olden times, whatever. I don't know. Frosty had a black hat. I think, I don't know. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to give him a red hat. That's right. I'm going to give him red hat. I'm going to give him a dark red hat. Could you bright? I'm going to give him dark. Okay. I got this in a gift box. So I might as well use it. So I've got his hat. Okay. And I'm just now, his hat. Ooh, look at that red. Nice red. Ooh, get excited with new colors. Doesn't take me very much. His hat is more of a square. And if you notice, like his nose was a triangle. These are more, I like to use the word linear. Some of you may say, Deborah, what the heck is linear, right? We think of line. Think of line, right? Think of line. Don't worry if it's not perfect. Why are you worried if it's perfect? We're practicing, we're experimenting, we're learning. But with my circles, I went around and I did these different kinds of brush strokes. For this, I'm not doing that. This, I'm kind of working in straight lines, if you can see. Okay, straight lines. Straight. I don't know. I don't know if it works, but I always like that. My brush strokes to kind of get, make sure you use enough paint. Okay, make sure you use enough paint. Well, my brush strokes kind of match the shape. If I'm working in something that I want to make sure it looks flat, like a square, a table. I don't want like crazy, unless that's the effect you want. There we are. Look at that. Got a red hat. Nice little contrast. His scarf. Do green. Do more orange. I think I'm going to do something very different. I very rarely work in pink. I know. So I think I'm going to make a little bit of pink for his scarf. Okay. So I'm going to take, clean my brush, make a different brush, clean them at the end. And I'm going to mix a little pink. And pink is just adding, obviously, right? Or maybe not obvious to you. It's okay. I shouldn't assume. We're going to add a lot of white. Or actually, you're going to work with white. You're going to add just a very little bit amount of red. Color goes a long way when you're working with white. Okay. Here we are. Look at that. Now, I know I have my hands still. I know I have my hands. Working with the reds that are more of a cool undertone, like this is more of a, probably is like more of a blue or a purple kind of vibe to it. If you wanted something much more warmer red, you're going to add a little bit of yellow. Okay, there we go. Just adding a little bit of pink. Just kind of gives it a nice little soft kind of look. That's it. My abstract snowman. I don't know. I don't know if I like his shape so much. Maybe I should have had him come out a little bit more. I don't know. Make adjustments. You're like, Deborah, I don't know. I don't know if I really dug that. I don't like the shape. You can go back and make corrections. We're almost done. Usually art with me takes about an hour. About then. We don't rush. Try not to. Not to. Yeah, I think I'm gonna add a little bit. I'm gonna add a little bit more to his bottom here. There we go. I don't know if it's gonna work. I said, Deborah, don't. No, it kind of looked too much like a sock. I always tell my students, everybody's art project always comes out so much better than mine. What is it? What's it? They have so much more talent. Here we go. Yeah, he still looks like a sock. Now he looks more like a sock. Oh gosh, made it worse. Now, the last thing is we're going to add some brown. A little bit of a warm color, an earthy color. It doesn't matter. You can make your arms black. But I kind of like the brown because it lightens it up. Because we're not working in a typical white snowman or snow person or snow lady, whatever you chose. It's your snowman. You go for it. I like to add a little something lighter. And I laugh when you go and you get these paints. Oh, now I find the black in that box. Silly billies. You can also make them purple. You can make them a yellow. I want a little darker brown. Okay. But you could use whatever color you want. Okay. Brown. I don't work a lot with browns. Not that there's any. My goodness, this one's going to be a little. Oh my. I never have luck with brown. Because I have high expectations because it's a color in nature. When I'm working with my trees, I'm like, that's not what a tree looks like. Let's see, my brown is like dried up. Heard me saying I don't like brown. It's not that I don't like brown. Where was my other brown? White, blue, thing hiding under my painting. There we go. Some of you know this. I have to break open the seal. Like, how many more things do I have to do? So, brown, black, any color you want. Take a nice thin brush, and I'm even going to get a little bit of a thinner brush for this. Nah, I think I'm going to work with this guy. And there we go. I'm going to add a little bit of water. If your paints are too thick, you can always add a little bit of clean water to them if you like. I generally, like Bob Ross was famous for his like thinned paint method. If you ever watched the Netflix special or something like that, I love Bob Ross, such a talented artist. I like to work with dry paints. I'm a little weird. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of add in, this is like a really ugly brown that I picked. If you want to give it a little bit more sparkle, you can kind of add, I don't know, you have to be careful, I think, when you add to brown. I think it always makes it worse. Maybe a little like yellow or something to bring it up. Okay. I'm just kind of coming in with my abstract snowman, working on those lines. Okay. This is a good way if you have like a marker and instead, you don't have to always work in brown. I mean, in paint, if you're working with it. And this one I made thicker, if you remember we were talking about, and I'm just filling in the line. On this one, what I'm actually doing is I'm tracing it. I'm tracing it. I'm just kind of painting um on top of the line I drew. So if you have a pencil line or you went back, I'm just kind of tracing it. And I guess it's up to you. If you want the scarf flying behind your arm, I think I'm going to do that. You just have the arm running on top. If you want the arm behind the scarf, you would just not make a line running thick. Okay? There he is. There he is. And there's different ways to add different types of techniques. If you want to add a little highlighting to it, you can always take a little bit, as it gets a little drier, a little bit of silver paint and kind of go along the outskirts for it, but letting it dry. You can always use a hair dryer if you need something to dry faster. But this is a snowman in the style of artist Elizabeth Murray. Very blobby, kind of like that look. You could have painted it as or drew it as a very traditional snowman. If you want to learn more about the artist that we focused on today, I always like to share a little bit. Just type in Elizabeth Murray. And I believe she has some work still at the Whitney. And what I dug about this is she's this artist. For some of you who live right near me, she had she had a show, some work shown at Fairleigh Dickinson University in 1970. For some of us before our time, for some of us, we were around. But there is the artwork that we kind of copied. There it is. And you can see her different artwork. She had a lot of cool textured stuff throughout the 60s, something a little bit different. I really kind of like that. You can explore. And here we go. We were kind of focusing a little bit on the 70s on this particular one, Children Meeting. But she has lots of different lines and textures. But in the 70s, she really experimented with kind of these blob-like shapes, which I really dig. And that's kind of where we were going with it. But an artist never has to stay the same. Artists never stay the same. Okay. She started to move into more rectangular shapes, but still working with those things. I like that. Sometimes you just want to look at stuff and say, what does that look like to you? So that's why we worked with the snowman. It's that kind of time of year and experimented with it. So if you tried this, awesome. And feel free, I always tell people, email me pictures of your work. I love to see it. But depending on the artist, depending on your perspective, depending on what shapes you like, what colors you like, you can have the same thing, but in a different shape, form, different look, different vibe. I like to call them vibes. And I dig all the vibes. I say go for it. But hopefully today in this lesson inspires you to try something different, looking at an object, kind of breaking it down, seeing what happens to it. You know, snowman looks great when it's first made and we look and we ooh and ah, but eventually it changes. And it's still beautiful. It's still cool. So that's what I hope you got a little bit out of it and tried something new and had an adventure with me today, because every day is an adventure. And catch me around. I'll have another video soon and hope to post more lessons onto our YouTube channel. And I just wish you a wonderful day and all the best in the new year coming and maybe some exciting, wonderful winter happenings. So have a good one and we will paint together again soon. Bye-bye.